This week's parsha, Parshas boy. Um, Towards the end of the parsha, we have the parsha of Kadesh Li Kol Bechor and the parsha of Ahoyo Ki V'Yacho, which are both parshas that we have in our tefillin that we wear every day. But if you look into the parsha of Kadesh Li Kol Bechor, there's something very challenging about the way it appears. Vayidaber Hashem al Moshe Lemor Kadesh Li Kol Bechor Peter Kol Rechem B'vnei Yisrael Ba'odam Uvavehema Lihu. So what did Hashem say to Moshe? To say to Klal Yisrael, Kadesh Li Kol Bechor Peter Kol Rechem. But what does Moshe say? The next pasuk is Vayoyme Moshe L'om Zocher Esayim Azeh Sheyitzosem Mitzrayim Beis Avodim Ki B'Choyzik Yad Hoitzi Hashem Eschem Izeh V'Lo Yochel Chometz Hayom Atzim Yoitzim. And he goes on with a whole list of mitzvahs. And how is this Moshe Rabbeinu's kiyum of HaKadosh Baruch Hu's tzivui Vayidaber Hashem al Moshe Lemor Kadesh Li Kol Bechor Peter Kol Rechem? So Rav Hirsch says something very interesting over here. He says that Nitno kan b'mitzvah hashniya dugma boiletes l'Torah shebal peh. In other words, Nitnu lonu kan hein divrei Hashem el Moshe v'hein divrei Moshe el Hashem. The pasuk tells us what Hashem said to Moshe and tells us what Moshe said to the people. Ha-pasuk ha-Moshe lonu es divrei Hashem einoi koilel el ma'amar kotzor. The pasuk that HaKadosh Baruch Hu says to Moshe is Kadesh Li Kol Bechor. It's a ma'amar kotzor. V'ilu pniyosoi shel Moshe el ha'om koileles mishpatim v'hoirois sheloi nimtzu b'divrei Hashem. So he says, so this is coming to teach us that this is the shita, he says, of the mitzvahs mu'uchorois yoser, that we only have in the Torah shebiksav, we only have a mitzvah, a mishpat kotzor. But the Torah shebal peh reveals everything that lies within that mishpat kotzor. Over here, the Torah itself spells it out. But this is how Torah shebal peh is meant to, with the Yud Gimel Midas, with the various means, that with the various tools of Torah shebal peh uncovers what lies in the mishpat kotzor. And that's what happens over here with the Torah itself. Says that the Rebbeinu Shalom said to Moshe Rabbeinu, Kadesh Li Kol Bechor, but he understands that this includes all the rest. Now, it must be nevertheless that all these mitzvahs that appear under the caption of Kadesh Li Kol Bechor are really somehow included in the Kadesh Li Kol Bechor. It's like the Torah shebal peh of Kadesh Li Kol Bechor, but we have no clue how the Kadesh Li Kol Bechor tells us Zocher Esayim Azeh, how it tells us the mitzvahs of matzah and the other mitzvahs that are included in this parsha. You know, the mitzvah of tefillin appears in this parsha, Kadesh Li Kol Bechor, and it appears once again in the next parsha, V'hoyo Ki V'Yacho. In the parsha of Kadesh, it says, V'hoyo l'chol ois al yodcho u'lezikoroin bein einecha. In the parsha of V'hoyo Ki V'Yacho, which is just a few psukim later, it says V'hoyo l'ois al yodcho u'letoitofois bein einecha. So the first time it appears as Zikaron Bein Einecha, the Tefillin Shel Rosh, and the second time it appears as Toitofos Bein Einecha. So why is that? So the Maharal in the Sefer Gvuras Hashem, Perek Lamed says, V'atam shekosuv beParshas Kadesh u'lezikaron Bein Einecha. The reason that the Torah, the Parshas Kadesh, refers to the Tefillin Shel Rosh as Zikaron Bein Einecha, Ki Eitzel Kedushas HaBechorah Shayach Midas Zechiro. V'hovein Zemoid. So he says that when we're talking about in the context of Kedushas HaBechorah, the parish of Kadesh Li Kol Bechor, the tefillin appear as Ikorim Bein Einecha because Eitzel Kedushas HaBechorah Shayach Midas Zechiro. What is that about? You know, the Choyves HaLevavis and the Shara Prishus in the beginning of Perek Dalet says, Avol tnoei haprishus hamiyuchedes the proper precious, which how would we say in English precious? I don't know. Maybe in English they don't consider precious to be a value, but precious is somebody that's porush minyoni olam hazeh, but with the right measure. So he says, so noya precious hamiyuchedes kasher omak tzasa chasidim haporush tzahalosoy al ponov. He always has a smile on his face. Ve'evloi beliba, even when deep in his heart he's in tsar, he's in pain. And more things he says, meyushev zachron moide rav boishes. So zachron is one of the character traits that define the porush. L'chora zikaron, memory, is something that one is either born with or not born with. It's a gift of the Rebbeinu Shalom. It's not a midah that is achieved, that's acquired through effort. So how could we define the porush as somebody who has memory? Be'emes, we already find there's something similar in the Brisa of Derech Eretz Zuta, Sof Perek Gimel. It says, Tesvav midois nemru b'talmud chochem, and ve'elohein noah b'viyosoi, noah b'tziosoi, etc., koines v'zachron, etc. So one of the things mentioned as one of the Tesvav midas of a Talmud Chochem is that he's a zachron. He remembers. How could that be? That's what defines a person. You know, the Pasuk says in Mishlei, Yud Ches, L'savo yevakesh nifrod, b'chol tushia yizgala. So what's L'tavo yevakesh nifrod? The Pasuk teaches that a person that moves himself towards bikush taiva, so his emptiness will be displayed in public. But the Rabbeinu Yoina says like this: Ki hamavakesh tavas liboy v'hoylech achareho l'savo yevakesh, somebody that is looking for taiva, looking for lust. Hamavakesh tavas liboy v'hoylech achareho nifrad hu mikol reya. He separates himself from his friends. Asher lo yuchal ish lechalkel v'lizboil midos chaveroi, because one person can't tolerate midos chaveroi. In the Shari Tshuva, in Shar Rishon Ois Lamed Aleph, he elaborates a bit more, and he says, Pirush, Misha mevakesh loleches achet ha'avoso yiritzonoi, nifrad mikol chovev ha'omis. He's separated from friends and from colleagues. L'tavo yevakesh nifrad. Ki taives b'nei odom umidoisom chalukos. Because everybody has different wants. Ein ritzoynoi shel zeh ki ritzoynoi shel zeh. I want this, you want that. So we're not connected. Ochein im yelech b'derech ha'seichel, oz yischabru loy ha'chaverim, v'yiu oy havov rabin. Uba'avur shemevakesh loleches achar ritzoynoi, leman zois mire'ehu rochaku mimenu. So what he's saying is, taiva is every want that's not rooted in seichel, not rooted in wisdom, and doesn't grow from seichel. All those wants don't really exist objectively. They don't have an independent existence. They exist only between the wanter and what he wants. And therefore, it's by definition something that's individualized. I want, you want. Even if I want and you want the same thing, there's no real connection between the fact that I want this and you want that. In the derech haseichel, when two people understand the same thing, we're connected, because the derech haseichel is really an independent, objective truth that we're both connected to. Whereas in the world of taiva, it's l'taiva yevakesh nifrad. The mevakesh hataiva is nifrad. the Rambam says in the Parshas Mishnayos and Zmai that we call a Talmud Chacham a chaver. So the Rambam says in Perek Beis Mishnah Gimel, chaver nikra Talmud Chacham, v'chein yikru letalmidei chachamim chaverim, v'ulai nikru b'shem hazeh ki chevrosam zeh lezeh chevra ne'emona, ki hi chevra l'shem shamayim. When we all have the same common cause and goal, which is a goal which has independent value and real meaning, so we're connected with each other. That's the Mielech B'derech HaSeichel is Yirbu Loich HaChaverim, whereas the Lataiva Yevakish is a Nifrod. So, according to the Rabbeinu Yoina, I would say that when the Gemara says in Kedushin, Daf Lamed Amud Beis, Yitzroi Shel Odom Mischadesh Olav B'chol Yoim. What does it mean, Mischadesh Olav B'chol Yoim? Because the wants that are not coming from wisdom are really don't have an independent real existence, right? It's the wanting only exists within the wanting, and therefore it's bichlal not. It doesn't exist outside the context of the here and now. So whatever doesn't exist independently, objectively, is al korchoch mischadesh, because my wanting of yesterday, my wanting of today are two different things. Because wanting, taiva, only exists in the context of the here and now. It could exist in many heres and nows, but there's no real connection. And that's mafurish in the Maharal, in the Nesivos Olam, in the Nesiv Koyach HaYetzer, Perek Beis, he says, Ulefichoch nechshav hayetzer hara shehu mischadesh al ha'odam b'chol yoim, ki ein loymar, ki yesh loy metzius harishon, ki ein metzius elov. We can't say that the Yetzer of today is the Yetzer of yesterday, because the Yetzer has no metzius b'chlal. Meaning, the Yetzer is only in the context of the here and now. So you can't say that it's yesterday's Yetzer. The Yetzer every day is mischadesh. Memela kum tachois that a mavakesh taiva is living a life of separation and disconnectedness, not only in terms of his relationship with other people, she'ein ritzoynoi shel zeh ki ritzoynoi shel zeh, but also in the sense that his days are disconnected, his hours are disconnected, his time is disconnected. His life is fragmented. There's no continuity in the life of the Lataiva Yevakesh. He's nifrod from others, and he's nifrod from the self of yesterday. So the thing is, there's a pasuk in Mishlei, Tezai and Chavches, that says, Ish tahapuchois yishalach modoin. So you see that the period of Zmanim, which is tahapuchois, it keep on changing. And the period of Nefoshes, which is modoin, have one root. The root is the temporary want. And that I have and on a daily basis. So the Ibn Ezra in Mishlei Ches Yud Gimel says Hachochma v'hatahapuchos soinim ze ze ki lo yamdu b'noisei echad, because in wisdom there's continuity. There's no tahapuchos. Tahapuchos is in the world of L'tava Yevakish. On one hand, we say that Rishoim Meleim Charota. On the other hand, we say Rishoim Afilu Al Pischoi Shel Gehenim Einam Choizrim B'tshuva. Tshuva they don't do, but since Chazal tell us that Rishoim are Birshus Libom, They're controlled by their heart. So every hoive, every present is new. And the newness of the present disconnects the present from the past and undoes the past. And that's the charota. It's a life of charota because there's no continuity. L'tavo yevakesh nifrod ish ta'apuchois yishalach modoin. But the person who lives a life of wisdom, he lives the life of hatzadikim libom birshusam, as Chazal tell us. So the life of wisdom is continuous, and it's connected. It's not fragmented, because it exists on an independent, objective level. As Rabbi Yisrael Salanta writes in a Ha'orah in the Or Yisrael, in the end of Siman Lamed, he writes, "Ve'imki koichos nefesh ha'odam yishtanu b'chol eis." The koiches nefesh of a person change all the time. Lo yipol shinoi b'das seichel ha'odam ha'metar sichloi b'derech ha'yosher. The das is something that's lo yipol boy shinoi. Now, the ongoing existence of the past in the present is in memory. That's where even what is already gone continues to exist in the bank of memory. And from there, it can direct the hoive, the osid, the present, the future. So the Chavis Halvavos is saying, Midarke ha-porush li yois zachron, meaning that the porush is somebody whose past has an ongoing existence. It's not undone by the present. Adarabah, it lives on in the present, and it gives direction to the present, because the porush is not a mavakesh taiva that fragments a person's life, and he's not in the rishus hayetze that's meschadesh b'chol yoim. He lives the life of chachamim that libam b'rishusam b'rishus chachmosam, which is kavua, and they grow from the experience of the past. Therefore, the parush is a zachron. You know, the Maharal in the Derech Chaim in Ovis Perek Beis Mishnah Tes says, "Shekoyach hazoicher hu koyach nafshi." Memory is a koyach nafshi. The davar ze ba'atzmo. If somebody remembers, moire shehu nivdal bilti nitba b'chomer. He's not completely sunk into the chomer. Ki hadavar ashehu nivdal legamri hu bilti ishtanas. Like a malach is bilti ishtanas. The more spiritual a person is, the more he's shayach to continuity, which is memory. So ki hadavar hachomri hu mishtana u'mispoel. V'loi kain hadavar hanivdal she'ein loi shinoi. The pasuk says v'loi sosuru achrei levavchem v'achrei einechem ashatim zoinim achreim l'man tizkeru v'asisem es kol mitzvah Hashem. Somebody that's a tor after the ein of v'liboy, his life is like the pasuk says in Tehillim, Yomov Ketzeil Oiver, like a shadow, because he's shadowing the present, and the present keeps on changing. And therefore we say that Rishonim are kemoitz titfenu ruach, because they're just a mirror of the surroundings and have no kviyas and no hemshech. Therefore Rishonim b'chayeyem kruyim mesim, because every present is the death of the past. The Gemara in Shabbos Daf Kuf Mem Zayin says that Rebbe Elazar ben Aruch, Ikla lahosam, Rebbe Elazar ben Aruch came to Hurgise v'dim yumsis, Rashi says. Imshich basrayu. Rashi says, Acha hayayim v'rechitze. He indulged in Hanor Solam Hazeh, Yayin and Rechitze. I eker Talmudei. He forgot his learning. Ki hodor osa, when he came back from Hurgise v'dim yumsis, Kom lemikri besifra. He got up to learn from the Sefer Torah. Boya lemikra hachodesh hazelochem. He wanted to read the pasuk hachodesh hazelochem in this week's parsha. Omar hachreish hoya libam. Instead of the words coming out, Achoidish as Elochem, what he said was Hachreish Hoyo Libam. So they bring in the name of the Makubal Reb Shimshon was Trapolya, Bezeh Aloshin. Uledaiti Asoid. Why did it happen with these words? He says, V'lama dafke to is kazu. V'soidoi, ki hu kara, mehadalid reish, mehazayin yud, meachov beis. In other words, from the dalid of Achoidesh, it became Hach Reish. From the Zayin of Hazeh, it became Hoya, became a Yud. From the Chof of Lachem, it became Libam. So these three letters that he said are Reish, Yud, Beis, Riv. Remez sheklipa hanikreis Riv. He shegormo l'shichichosai. So this is in the other Sifrei Kabbalah. I mean, they bring Reb Menachem Tziyuni in the Tzvunei Tziyuni, and in other places that the klipa that's in charge of shichicha, forgetfulness, is called Riv. So obviously, this is Nestoris Lashem Alikenu. We have no clue what this means, but I'm just saying, based on the above mentioned, that L'tavo Yevakesh Nifrod is about separation from others and separation from your own past, because every hoive is misradish. So shichicha and riv are really two sides of the same thing, because like the pasuk says, ishta puchos yishalach modoin. The ishta puchos is the forgetful person who keeps on changing, ishta puchos, and he's yishalach modoin. Therefore, it's no wonder that the klipa that's mamuna al hashichicha is riv. In other words, that's the klipa of pirud in nefesh and in zman. But coming back to the Maharal, that the reason that the Tefillin Shel Rosh in the parsha of Kadosh Likol Bechor appear as lizikoroin beinei necha, because ki eitzel kedushas habechor shayach midas zechira. So you know the pasuk says, "Tachas avoisecha yiyu bonecha," which means that children are the ongoing kiyum of the parents. Like we say, bro, karei da avuhi. Gemara says in Bava Basra, Daf Kuf Tezayin, mipnei ma, beDavid nemra by shchiva, ubeYoav nemra by misa, David shehiniach ben nemra by shchiva. It's considered as if he didn't die, because he was hiniach ben. Yoav shelo hiniach ben nemra by misa. So children are the ongoing life of the parents. Mitoich that hemshech comes also the hemshech, the external hemshech of Yerusha. Al pi hayadua, that there's a real connection between a person and his possessions. A person's possessions are his chelik ba'olam, that he is meant to uplift and elevate and use l'shem shamayim. The Shloah Kodesh in Parshas Pinchas says, Ki be'eis habriya, one was meant to live forever. V'kilkol, v'nigzar olav, hamisa, omnom nosan Hashem yizborach lonu toras emes, shal yodo nizkela osid, v'nosan lonu mitzvahs shehin moirim al zeh. We have mitzvahs that show us that life is really eternal. V'heim roishim l'zeh ha'inyan, al nitzchi yis haguf k'moy hanefesh. In the time of Tchias HaMesim. Va'ato bo ha'roishim lezeh b'dinei nachlis, shenikroi mishpat, lo'idia she'ime yoisha anocha shakadmoini gorem ha'chet va'amisa, v'nifseku v'nifredu ha'gufim mikol mokam ha'nisha b'mkoimoi, mishtalshul mimenu lirash. What's left of eternal life is the inyan of Yerusha. Ki kirvas ha'nefosha is lo nifseku bohem. In any case, Yerusha represents the inyan of Tachas Avoisecha Yiyu Bonecha. We know that the Bechor is Noitel Pishnayim B'nechse Yaviv. And from that we can understand that the Bechor is really a Noitel Pishnayim Beruchai Shel Aviv. As in the Sefer Tzror Hamor, in Dvarim Chaf Aleph Yud Zayin, on the Pasuk, Ki Hu Reishis Oinoi, Loi Mishpat HaBechorah, he says, Koloimar, Reishis b'chochma, u'b'seichel, u'b'koyach HaTorah. That's why he gets the Mishpat HaBechorah. The Baal HaTanya in his Siddur writes, HaBechor koilel ba'atzmoi mikol ha'oirois, sheyoitzim achar kach be'echov, v'al kein noitel pishnayim ki yodua. So also writes Isaac Chover, HaBechor noitel pishnayim mishum, shehu noitel ikir haruche the shodi begavei. The Bechor takes the ikir spirit of his father, and therefore he's a noitel pishnayim. So the Bechor is the ikir continuation of the father. Okay, now, since the midah of zikaron is the midah of continuity, the midah of akiyum kavua, v'kayom, so we understand that the Bechor is really the embodiment of zikaron. And that's what the Maral is saying, that Eitzel Kedushas HaBechorah Shayach Midas Zechira V'hovein Zeh Ma'od. The Medrash says on the pasuk Kadesh Likol Bechor Kishem She'asisi LeYaakov Bechor. Kadesh Likol Bechor Kishem She'asisi LeYaakov Bechor. So what does that mean? The pasuk says Vayomer Esav Hine Anochi Hoylech Lomus V'Lama Zeli Bechor. So Esav has no ongoing existence. Esav is a Rasha that Yom of Ketzeil Oiver, Kemoitz Titfenu Ruach, Latavo Yevakesh Nifrod, Haliteini. That's the Latavo Yevakesh Nifrod. Therefore, he's a Hoylech Lomus. And Memela V'lama Zeh Li Bechora, because Bechora is about ongoing life, about a living legacy. And Esav is Hoylech Lomus. V'lama Zeh Li Bechora. And that's why Asisi es Yaakov Bechor, because Yaakov is not a Hoylech Lomus. As we know that Yaakov Avinu loy mes, ma zaroi b'chayim, afu b'chayim. So Yaakov Avinu lives on through zaroi, as the Gemara says in Tainis Daf Hey. So Yaakov Avinu is the Baal HaZikaron, and therefore Yaakov Avinu is the Bechor. Because the Kedushas HaBechorah is shaykh to the midah of Zechira. Now, we say, V'hoyo ki yisholcha bincha mocha leimer mazois, v'martoi v'b'choizik yodo yisyonu Hashem in Mitzrayim, etc. V'yiki hiksho parei l'sholchenu, v'yarig Hashem kol b'chor beretz Mitzrayim al kain, and hizoivech l'Hashem kol peter, rechem, b'chor bonai efde. So you know that the Mekubalim say that the klipa of Mitzrayim is the klipa of Shichecha. The Shem Shmuel brings it B'zeh HaLoshen in Parshas Vayechi, Amud Shin Chav Beis, and it appears in several sources that the klipa of Mitzrayim is the klipa of Shichecha. But just to understand that on our level, it's because the pasuk says Vayishlach Para V'yikru l'Moshe B'Aharon, and then he says Chatosi Apam Hashem Hatzadik V'ani V'ami Yorishoim, right? But as soon as Vayar Paroi ki chod al hamotor v'haborod v'hakoilois v'yoyisef lachzei v'yechbad libay hu v'avoda v'yechzek leiv paroi v'lo yishulach es b'nei Yisrael. So it's about what? It's about Shichecha. There's no continuity. There's no hemshich. I mean, yesterday he was all into it, and now it's over. We already find earlier v'lo yizochar sar hamashkim es Yosef v'yishkocheu. So Vayiki Hiksha Paril Shalchenu means that the Hisairus was gone. You know, there's a loshon of the Gro where he writes Libam Shel Rashoim Rach the Einoi Nichna Ela L'Shamu Etes V'ach Kachoiz Elias Kavarishayna. So that's the forgetfulness of the Rasha. So Vayiki Hiksha Paril Shalchenu. So what happens? Vayareg Hashem Kol B'chor Be'eretz Mitzrayim. Because Eitzel Kedushas HaBechorah is shaykh the midah of Zechira, and with its forgetfulness, there's no Bechorah. Therefore, the Bechor Mitzrayim is gone. And this is the answer. Ki yisholcha bincha mocha leimer mazois. In other words, the mocher, like Rashi says, yesh mocher shu achshav, yesh mocher shu lachazman. There's a bincha that's connected, there's a bincha that's disconnected. But this answer, is meant to make the mochar into a now and make the ben into a kom tachas avoisov, because this answer is really about focusing on continuity. And that's why we were chosen, B'chorcho Yisrael Ga'alta, and the B'chorei Mitzrayim were killed, because we are the ones that are meant to live a life of continuity and to keep up the kedusha of B'chora, B'ni B'chorei Yisrael, B'ni B'chorei Yisrael. Umemela, you understand that the mitzvahs of Pesach that appear in the parsha of HaKadosh Baruch Hu says to Moshe, Kadosh li kol b'chor. But Moshe understands in that Kadosh li kol b'chor the entire celebration of Pesach, because the entire celebration of Pesach is about B'chorei Mitzrayim and B'chorei Yisrael, about the forgetfulness of Mitzrayim and the memory of Klal Yisrael. And Mamela, the Kadosh li kol b'chor includes the mitzvahs hayoim of Pesach. Zocher es hayoim hazeh. HaKadosh Baruch Hu says to him, Kadosh li kol b'chor. He says to Klal Yisrael, Zocher es hayoim hazeh asher yitzos Mitzrayim, because b'chor is about zikaron. It's about Zocher es hayoim hazeh. Rabbi Isai, I want to wish you all, a guten Shabbos, and everything.